Hello! That last video got a lot more attention than I expected it to. Not a ton, but certainly a lot for me. I think it's gotta be my most popular video by far now, and I'm very thankful for that, because it's also the video I'm most proud of, and the kind of video I would gladly keep doing, so if you guys are interested, please stick around. I definitely intend to make more, including right now. In fact, I'm going to be doing something that was requested to me by one of my commenters. Thank you very much. That said, I do kinda lose the plot partway through. See, I am happy to recreate sprites in my art style and all that good stuff, but don't kill me. I'm not a big Pokémon fan. I think the designs are pretty neat, but even then, I mean, some of them are just not the best. But all of that aside, I do the best I can for 3 Pokemon. I will give you 3 Pokemon. That is my gift to you, dear viewer. After that, I'm doing something for me. I'm doing Smash Bros, and you can't stop me. More specifically, I'll be referencing renders from Smash games of Mario, Link, Kirby, and Pikachu, and redrawing those characters in their poses based on how they look in their initial game sprite art.
So let's just jump into it.
So we'll be getting started with Mew, because Mew is the first Pokemon, the genetic ancestor to all of them. Of course, the first Pokemon in real life would be Rhydon, because that was the first one ever designed, and Bulbasaur is the first one in the Pokédex. And Arceus is the god in the Pokemon world, so really, it would have to predate Mew, and okay, we're getting too caught in the weeds. Let's take a look at his funny little power stance. I don't know why his legs are split like that, but I am not going to complain. In my opinion, very cute, very silly. Definitely captures the feral cat kind of energy that I think Mew is supposed to have. I love those big, silly eyes. After Mew, we move right into Charmander. His pose in the sprite is a lot more lively and fun, much more fitting for Charmander, but something about his body shape really made me want to just have him standing there looking aimlessly in the distance. Like he's been invited to a party by a friend, but it's hosted by a friend of a friend, and he doesn't really know anybody there, so he just kind of stood in the corner uncomfortable. Something about it's very amusing to me. With that said, I don't actually have a ton to add here. They are, for all intents and purposes, pretty simple designs. I do have one more Pokemon I'm going to work on, but that'll actually be saved for last, so for now, say goodbye to these two. Forever. We will be moving right along to Jumpman, Mario himself. And I gotta say, compared to the last video I did, which also featured quite a few drawings of Mario, I was surprised by how much fun I had imagining him specifically from the Donkey Kong arcade game. Something about those bright blues and bright reds and... I mean, you know my deal by now. I love oversaturated colors. Something about trying to make them work in a visually appealing design when garish colors are kind of inherently ugly is a fun challenge, and I did, spoiler alert, end on something I was incredibly happy with for all of these, so I'd call it a great success. Of course, this initial sketch does not really make it look that way because, if we're being honest, I don't really like this first pass I did at Link. I think I got the pose okay, but his head's too small, his proportions in general just are not right. Kirby, however, was pretty easy. I think that back leg might be a little small, and it's not something I really bother fixing, but we're splitting hairs. It's Kirby, it looks like Kirby, and you'll notice I'm taking cues from Kirby's first game where he is completely white. I end up changing his skin tone to pink because that's just a more iconic color, and from the second game onward he is pink, but for the sake of authenticity, you will see there is a point where he is black and white. So for those of you who are suckers for the real deal, want everyone based on their first game appearance like I promised, there he is. Black and white. You're welcome. Now, while I'm moving on to polishing up Mario's line art, I figured it would be kind of interesting if I took some time to talk about his Smash appearances, since this is kind of the root of all what we're doing. He is in his Brawl pose, as Link is in his Smash 4 pose, and Kirby and Pikachu are in their Smash Ultimate poses. For Mario, his history with Smash has been kind of a mixed bag, although I should say it's still better off than a lot of characters. We will get to Ganondorf in one of these videos, and it will be a sad day when we do. For Mario's part, he's kind of turned into a big hit you a million times with moves that have no end leg until you die character, for better and for worse. but he certainly isn't complaining with his spot on the tier list as a result. He is a very, very solid character. I think he's fun, although I will say he's not super faithful. And I think that's one of the funny things about what we're doing here. I'm adapting Mario based on his original sprites, but it is also a testament to how much Mario has changed. And yet with Smash, how much has he really changed at all? Besides the new down special in Brawl, he's been largely the same since Melee. But with that said, Mario is Mario, and he certainly still feels like himself in Smash. Even this pose, which is trying way too hard to be cool, doesn't feel out of character for him, if I might give my opinion. I believe I have permission to do that in my own videos, but you never know with YouTube. Now, this color palette really pulls its weight here. I don't know what exactly it is, but something about the way the red is a shade tone for the skin tone, the blue is a shade tone for the red, and then black just so naturally acts as the shading for the blue just really scratched an itch in my brain. I give him beady little eyes and that big bulbous nose, and we're just about done. Now with Link, you'll see I make some adjustments even while I'm doing the line art. That belt is still too small, but I also should mention why I chose this shield. I don't think it's the shield you start with, nor is his sword, frankly, but they looked the most iconic to me. I haven't played much Zelda 1, and I frankly have no interest in doing so. It's kind of a mess, but I did my best to adapt the design faithfully at the very least. I give him the big ears, that big nose you can see from the side. I love it. That said, I don't have a ton to say about a game I haven't played much. Oh, there's the belt. See, now it's normal sized. I think I'll just talk about him in Smash, because he's also had an interesting history, having gone through so many incarnations that you might have mistaken this drawing for a weird take on Young Link, or Toon Link, because there are 3 Links in Super Smash Bros., not including the fact that he has gone through Ocarina of Time, Twilight Princess, and now Breath of the Wild designs for just the default Link. And yet, despite all of these radical design changes, his actual moveset is disappointingly static across the Smash series. The Zelda franchise in general just doesn't seem to have a very interesting pool of moves in Smash. And some of it's a lack of inspiration. I mean, there isn't a ton of source material for Zelda, but with Link, he's just stuck in the past, which might be fitting for the hero of time, but that was Melee, and he's still playing like it now. I at least harken back to the past intentionally with this piece, but for Smash, I would really love to see them change things up sometime. This is also another case where I'm not 100% faithful with my take. Link's eyes are 1 pixel green, 1 pixel brown apiece, and I do try to incorporate the green and brown, but without the whites in there, I just didn't feel like it would look right. I did attempt it, as you can see. Now we're moving right on to the background, and this is just some random subspacey type nonsense. I didn't put too much thought into it. I'm just kind of adding little flourishes and touch-ups here and there. And I'm adding color to Kirby, like I said I would. I just think he looks so much better like this that even if it's not technically authentic to his first in-game appearance, I really just like it a lot more. Besides, we can't get too caught in the weeds here. After all, we have a new thing to worry about, and that's that little rat in the corner I keep ignoring. Let's look at him here. You can see that he starts out very fat, and you'll also see me tinkering with his feature placement on his face like there's no tomorrow, because I can barely do that with Pikachu's current design, let alone this horrid obese monstrosity. He's adorable when you get the features right, but when you don't, he looks like a disaster. And I went through a lot of disasters on my way to my final take. Still, I do think we end on something that works, although for now, he is morbidly obese. I kept hoping against hope that that big beer gut he's got would end up making sense at the end, but really, he's just not that fat, even in his earliest appearances. I trim him down a bit, still keep some of his junk, and add some little touch-ups that you might or might not notice. For example, his left ear is going to get a little bit bigger. Did you notice it? It's a little bigger now. And there we have it. I apologize to any Pokémon fans who may feel snubbed, in no small part because my 2 favorites, the ones that aren't Charmander, both ended up looking a lot like their initial sprites. The pose isn't especially creative, but I did do it all freehand, not even tracing the sprites, which wouldn't even really help much. In fact, I even put the render of Link behind the sketch I was doing in hopes that maybe I could figure something out using that anatomy as a base, but most of these characters just either look too different from their sprites or too different design-wise from their renders for me to ever really get more than a loose reference when doing this kind of stuff. Which is part of why it's fun. It's a very creative exercise. I'm not just recreating something I'm looking at. With that said, I think you can tell my heart's not as in it with the Pokémon as it is with anything Smash-related. Honestly, I'm amazed I've kept a lid on that obsession as well as I have up until now, probably just because I don't post very often. But that's going to change, both in terms of I'm going to be more openly obsessed with Smash Bros. On this channel, and I'm going to be more active on this channel. So if you're interested in one or both, that's something to look forward to. That said, I'm not going to only do Smash content, so if you do want to watch something else, please let me know what you're interested in. I'll do my best to accommodate. Thank you very much, and like and subscribe if you enjoyed.